Hello YouTube and welcome to accessorize 3 of 3 finally. Okay, bear with me because I'm going to have to be pressing pause because YouTube's video editing suite is cracking up to say the least. So I'm unable to use that at the moment, so I'm just going to have to pause my video in between thoughts basically. So I apologise in advance for the lack of post editing here. Okay, here we go. Right, I've wanted to do this before the new year was out. I just wanted to get this series wrapped up and finished and out the way. Even though the series so far hasn't had many views, it's not the point because I do these videos for me. I simply wanted to get this series wrapped up and out the way for me, and so I can just basically have it completed and done. 3 of 3 accessorize. I said I was going to talk about the BDT 220, okay, which is the second 3D Blu-ray player I have rigged up to my AV tuner. In itself is also a 3D Blu-ray player. Okay, one of the reasons why I've delayed this third of the 3 is simply because I have replaced what I've been using for a while, the BDT 220, with the BDT 260, and I was waiting for that to arrive. I was waiting for this model, the T260, to arrive, the replacement, before I could do it. I wanted to, so I could show off the new model. Basically, I needed an upgrade for the bedroom. So this one here, the T220, hasn't broken on me. I just needed to upgrade the player in the bedroom. So what I've done was I threw this in the bedroom, this model, the one which used to sit in my living room. That's now in the bedroom, and I've upgraded the one in the living room. I've upgraded it to this one, the T260. Even though it's a more later model, it's a later Panasonic model, the T260, which now sits in my living room, which I will discuss in a minute. Even though it's a later model, it's not as nice as the T220. For some reason, it's just not as nice. It lacks the SD card facility. This model lacks the SD card direct facility, which this model has. You can't plug an SD card directly into it, but you're fine with most televisions nowadays have the SD card facility, which you can use to plug it into the TV. You can use the facility on your television rather than on the Blu-ray player machine, and I think that's probably why they phased it out. Basically, is because of the said point I've just made. All equipment now have SD card inputs, and I think basically, even though it's a later model, I think they've done away. The Panasonic have done away with all the unnecessary, like in inverted commas, hope you saw that, all the unnecessary inputs to its model, to its basic range. Not only the SD card facility, they've also done away with all the width for a start. The size, you can see the T220 is a wider. You can see plainly there in clear view, wider. They've done away basically with all the unnecessary, again I do that with my fingers, all the unnecessary inputs, and they've kept the basically all the non-high def inputs they've got away with, and they've retained all the high def inputs and facilities. In a nutshell, that's what they've done. Even though it's a later model, I say it's not as attractive as the previous model in the range of their basic players. Okay, I'm going to go for a pause now, bear with me. And there it is there, at the top. As you can see, it's slimmer than the T220 by far. Not that you can remember, because I have not done a video on that dedicated. But it's a lot slimmer, and it sits on the top. It's as slim as the cable box. I was originally going to put the Oppo in with my separates there. But what I decided to do ultimately is put it there. I was saying in the update on my television video, which still exists on the channel, that I was going to put the Oppo, which stood there in a stool, just there, just in front of that speaker. I was going to slip it in there with my separates. In my second of 3 accessorize, I was saying I would talk about this in more detail now in 3 of 3. I decided to put it there under the television and put the cable box in with the separates instead of the other way around. It just works not only aesthetically but practically. It works better for me and for the system as a whole. It looks better. The Oppo looks better there, and with the cable box in with the separates under the new Panasonic T basic range model there, which I'm going to discuss in a minute, rather than have the cable box sat on top of the Oppo. It just looks better that way. And as I discussed in 2 of 3, I've got the slimmer FM tuner. I replaced the fatter, chunkier FM tuner with the slimmer FM tuner there. Let me just see, you can put the light on so you can check it out. There, it's the 1, 2, 3, 4 down from the top is the slimmer FM tuner. Okay. For some reason, I never use the FM tuner. I just don't use it, but because I'm from old school, I don't want to get rid of the FM facility from my hi-fi stacker. I just don't want to. I just don't feel comfortable doing so yet. As you can still see, I've got my cassette player in there, my cassettes. I use the cassette player more than I use the FM tuner. But anyway, look, I don't want to start digressing, right? I'm going to stick with the T260. I want to state about it. Basically, this is now 3 of 3 in my accessorized series. The Panasonic, the one I have here, the Panasonics, in my experience, their Blu-ray players have a great black palette. They give off great blacks in with their, rather than all the palette range. The thing which stands out with Panasonic Blu-ray players, if you're after a basic model Blu-ray player, and you're after a machine which gives outstanding blacks, you'll find the Panasonic ranges of players do. As I discussed in my previous accessorized videos, in my part 1 and part 2, the Oppo there, which stands at the bottom, that's got a mid-range of all, I would say. And the Sony, I find, in all my experience of purchasing machines and experiencing the brands, the Sonys tend to have the outstanding range in colour amongst their palettes overall. The Panasonics are more outstanding with their blacks. Not that the Sony and the Oppos are poor with the blacks. Get me? The Panasonics tend to be outstanding with their blacks. I use this Panasonic. You will find, if you're like me and you're not into digital downloading yet, streaming, and you haven't switched to high def television, cable boxes, blah blah blah, you'll find if you're using, and also a non-game user, you'll find that if you're using solely Blu-ray machines, you'll find, I'll advise to you, you have your main nice one, your expensive one you're going to get buried with, which I do, it's the Oppo. You tend to have your tuner which you plug your stuff into to give you your surround sound. I would advise to you, get a workhorse, alright? Get something you use basically all the time, every day, and which you want to use over your more expensive one to save the more expensive one packaging, because Blu-ray players, you find, aren't like gaming machines. Blu-ray players aren't designed to last like gaming machines. And as I say, if you're not into high-def streaming yet, then I'll advise you, therefore, get yourself a workhorse, and this is what I use my Panasonic for. The T260. The Panasonic give outstanding blacks, you'll find. I find that I watch different types of movies in all three machines here, I find, and you'll find, and I'll advise to you, if you're not, as I say, you're not a gamer and you solely use Blu-ray machines to watch movies on, go for different types of machines. You'll find, as I say, one to get buried with, your really outstanding expensive one, you'll exhibit your stuff on, get your workhorse one, and vary your brands, because you'll find different brands offer different qualities depending on what qualities you're out for. In this case, I'm talking about the colour palettes. Sony, greater range in colour palette overall. Oppo, generally mid-range in all. And the Panasonic, I find beneficial to me, are the colour palette ranges I go for. The Panasonic give outstanding blacks. I don't think there's much more to say really in regards to my accessorize series. That's about it really, before I run out of time. I'm glad I got this wrapped up. Any questions, leave below in your comments below. Yeah, I'm an advocate still for discs, for Blu-ray and DVD. You find if you get like nice quality machines, they upgrade DVDs fine. You find in machines now, the more expensive, higher end of the market's case for 4K, 2K now. Also, I'm still using 1080p televisions. It's going to be a while. Like the non-3D, say it's going to be a while before I get 3D TV. I can relate to that totally in regards to 4K. It's going to be a while before I bother with 4K television. I've invested in 3D, and I'll be quite happy to stay with that now for a good while. Hopefully my Oppo there, which I detailed in Accessorize 2 of 3, will last the duration, because it is 4K, 2K capable. The basic, you'll find the basic, your workhorse, you won't need to bother, because they don't last more than 3-4 years. As long as they handle 1080p, I find, and 3D. Super duper. Okay, over now. That's about it. Any questions and comments, leave below. I welcome them all. Okay, over now. Cheers YouTube. I hope you've enjoyed the series. Bye bye.